Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, so we're going to talk about an article that just came out. Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran insists now is the very best time to buy a house, despite interest rates hitting a 23-year high. It's not the best time. It's the very best time.
Right.
What do you think about that?
So I think she's onto something. I've mentioned this over the summer, so let's see what Barbara has to say.
Okay, 2 housekeeping notes before we get started. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the 100% forecast for a recession. So here is the article. This was snapshotted this a year ago, October 17th of 2022. So it's a little over a year ago. It was 100% chance. 100%. Oana, I'm going to make you do math in public. What is, if something has a 100% chance probability, what does that mean? Like, what's the percentage that it's not going to happen? If it's 100% chance it's going to happen, what percentage is it not going to happen?
It's going to happen. That's what it says.
It's going to happen. Forecast for U.S. recession within a year hits 100%.
Okay, the only thing that's 100% besides this, of course, is what? Death and taxes.
Time. We used to say time, tide, and formation at the Naval Academy. Time, tide, and formation. You can't stop those. Okay. So we're going to go through this stuff. If you're watching on the big screen and you see that I've got some stuff going on my face, annual dermatologist.
Okay.
So every year, having grown up here in Nevada, and they always find stuff to fry off every year.
There you go.
So this is your public service announcement. If you are seasoned citizen and you have spent a lot of time in the sun, go get that annual skin exam.
Even if you haven't spent a lot of time in the sun, but you live out here in the desert where there's plenty of sunshine year round, you might want to get looked at.
Okay, so here we go. Jump in the article. Okay, Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran has some bad news. Interest rates are never going to be as low as they were during the pandemic again. But she's got some good news, too. The current rates, hiked to a near 23-year high by the Federal Reserve, make now the ideal time to enter the housing market. Okay, Barbara Corcoran famously sold her Corcoran real estate firm for like millions of dollars. She sold it. She doesn't own it. It's got her name, but she doesn't own it anymore. So she knows something about what's going on. She tends to, she's obviously famous because of Shark Tank and her investments in startups and companies and everything.
But she's also famous because she takes chances.
Okay.
Okay. And in order to achieve what she's achieved, she's taken a lot of chances and she's gotten a lot of things right. Okay.
Okay.
So kind of speaking to that, she's talking about today being the best time to buy. Well, it's the best time to buy because we can't go in the past, right? So this is kind of where we are. Part of the reason why she's saying today is the best time to buy is because due to the high interest rates, and I've talked about this a lot, the people, the bottom third of people have been priced out. And so that leaves you with less competition for the homes that are available. Look, when interest rates start to go down, a lot of other people will jump in. And then you'll be in a multiple offer situation. You'll have 20 offers against a house. You'll be paying so much more. And there's no way that you can make up for the excess that you'll have to pay in order to get a house versus the higher interest rate that you pay today. The higher interest rate that you pay today is most likely short term because sometime in the next couple of years you'll be able to refinance for a better interest rate. But when you pay more for the house, you're never going to get a discount on that, right? So that's what she's really alluding to.
Okay, here's another quote. Interest rates just hit a 20-year high, and what that's doing is pushing more buyers onto the sideline. They're going to wait it out. Corcoran said in a video posted to her Instagram. So she's talking about the demand side, supply and demand. She's talking about the demand side. So the demand side has pushed some people out. We've actually got a chart we're going to show you a little later on that is 100% opposite what you think it would be. It's the purchasing. Is now a good time to buy when they pulled people. And it's the last 20 years of is now a good time to buy. And when you look at this chart, it's going to blow you away because it's going to be opposite what you think it would be. Because if you went back in time and you got to write in each year, you thought it was a good time to buy that year, you would be exactly opposite on this chart where it is. It's pretty funny.
Right. So because remember, people tend to be followers, not leaders. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but people tend to buy things when they're at the top of the market because they've seen everybody else buy. But by then it's too late, right?
Yeah. Okay, if in the face of such uncertainty, many may be inclined to follow the crowd until rates come down, but Corcoran doesn't believe this is the right move. Sometimes people's decision making, there's two types of decision makers: internal decision makers, external decision makers. I think Barbara Corcoran's an internal decision maker. External decision makers look at decisions other people have made and they adopt those beliefs and decisions because other people are making those decisions. Mm-hmm. So this is like what you said, if a bunch of people are saying you should do this one activity, this Bitcoin that just, it's now at 23,000. You're like, oh my gosh, I remember when it was at $4, but I thought it was stupid. But now that everybody's think it's hot and it's at 23,000, and then it went down to like 2,000. That was the first. It was actually, I think it went up to 17,000, then it went back to 2,000. But this is just about following the crowd, right? Why do you think people do that?
Well, because people are social animals, and social animals tend to follow others. That's kind of the way humans are. And there are a lot of herd animals like that.
Okay. Here's, I think, one of the best quotes from the article. The days of the 2 or 3% interest rates are never going to come again. Forget about that, she said. But they will come down, and the minute they drop and come to anything within a 5 in front of it, the whole world's going to jump back in the market.
Honestly, at this point, I think anything with a 6 in front of it, they're going to jump back in the market.
Because interest rates are getting close to 8, right?
Yes.
Which historically, I personally remember rates in the mid to upper teens. I wasn't purchasing a home back then. I was still in college. But I remember the aftermath of that. And home prices went up during that time. Home prices didn't drop. Okay. Home prices, the reason why we never have 2 or 3% interest rates is because of the debt, I think. There's so much debt. I think the Federal Reserve is going to have to, the government's going to have to offer higher debt percentages to get people to want to purchase our debt because there's more risk involved. The risk premium for money has gone up. I mean, you can get 5.2% money market right now.
Right. So 2 reasons. One, what you said, and then the other reason is because the pandemic was a unique situation, but there were lessons learned from that. And the lessons that were learned from that include the cost of cheap money. The cost of cheap money was actually really high.
Right.
It sounds counterintuitive, but the cost of cheap money was really high in the sense that it spurred on inflation, which is the real cost of that cheap money.
Yeah, and to think about it this way, if you did buy a house or refi a house or own a house free and clear, the inflationary increase in your home was offset by the fact that everything else in your life costs more money. So if you're an investor and you own a bunch of houses, you can mitigate that because you've raised rents probably over the last 4 years. And then you have more money coming in because all of your stuff has cost more. But that poor renter, the only thing they can count on are one of two things. They can either hope they can get a higher wage for working, or they can go into debt.
Yep.
The only other thing they have is to make different economic choices, like cancel, not buy a car, or not, do this thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, inflation is very, very corrosive.
It is.
So I think that's what I meant by the price of those low mortgage rates was actually very high because it spurred on inflation, which is very corrosive throughout the economy.
Okay, here's the big thing. As a result, she believes there's going to be no houses around, and prices are going to go up by 10 or 15, even 15%. So the crashers all said when interest rates go to 5 and 6, home prices will go down 40, 50% because there's this relationship between what you can pay, like a bond, right? As interest rates go up, bond prices go down and vice versa. So they're saying, home prices have to go down, but they didn't go down.
No, they didn't, because the housing market is more than just one lever, right? It's more than just interest rates. It's also supply and demand. It's also the fact that we're not building enough houses. It's much more complicated. So interest rates going up did not hurt housing. And I want to stress that because everybody's crying about the affordability out there and all of this. It's like, well, that's all true. However, we're still in an environment where we have more buyers than we have homes. So the affordability is not currently a problem in the housing market regarding homes not selling. Homes are selling, they're just not, we just don't have as many people able to buy them, but that's not negatively impacting the housing market because we still have more than one buyer per house.
Okay, so that leads us to the next quote. Let's think of it conceptually, he added. At that time, there were perhaps 5 buyers for every home available. So we're talking about a couple years ago when interest rates were 3%. Today, reduced affordability may have taken out some of those qualified buyers, but there's still 2 or 3 per home. So it's the people that were marginally qualified that are now out that I think complaining the most, that they feel like they've been locked out.
Well, and they're right. They have been locked out, but they've been locked out of the home they wanted, not the home they can afford, which are 2 different things. And I've said that before. If before you were looking at a $700,000 house, now you can only buy a $500,000 house. Are you locked out of buying? No, you're just locked out of buying the house you wanted.
And that's a problem in an area like maybe San Diego, where a $700,000 house is below the median, and now a $500,000 house may be like really far out. It may be really small. It's not an area you want to live. You're not going to live in Hillcrest or something like that in an area, or Point Loma, right? There's probably nothing on the market under $700,000. Even a condo in Point Loma is probably more than that. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick, before I show you the chart that will absolutely blow you away, counterintuitive chart. We'll do this quick exercise. Okay. 2005, interest rates were about 6.5%. Okay. Home prices had peaked.
Yes.
310,000, I think, nationwide, something like that. Okay. Wages were whatever wages were. Now, 2009, 4 years later, interest rates were less. So here, imagine this. It's 2005, $310,000 is the median price. And I tell you, in 4 years, by 2009, interest rates will have dropped from 6.5% to 5%, because they continually dropped during that time. Wages will go up the normal, 2 or 3% a year. What do you think is going to happen to home prices during that time? What do you think the average person would have said?
Well, without external circumstances, the home prices would have gone up.
Home prices would have gone. All of you know. This is historical information. You go Google it and find it. Home prices absolutely got crushed. Despite the things the crash bros are telling us are going to make house prices crash, the interest rates. Interest rates going down during that time and home prices collapsed. Why? Because it was oversupply. It was way too many homes built, way too many people just handing their houses back to the bank by literally the millions. None of that, 0 of that exists. We don't have the fake loans. We don't have all the other stuff. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'm going to show you a chart, and I'm going to put it up right now. Okay, this chart. Now, you're probably going, what the hell is this? Is this home prices? No. This is, quote unquote, is it a good time to buy? This is people's sentiment about buying a home. Now, if you go all the way to the left, that's 2000. If you go all the way to the right, it basically ends at 2003. At the very top, it's 100%. So this would be 100% people saying it's a good time to buy. At the bottom is 0%. It's a bad time. You should not be buying. It's a bad time to buy. This, between basically 2018 and 2000, the best time to buy a house was between 2005 and 6. Over 70%. Remember, home prices had run up about 50% nationwide. But people were saying in 2005 and 6, it is the best time to buy a house. 70% of people. Does that even make sense? Home prices gone up 50%. People are like, it's a great time to buy. Home prices are going up. Is that part of that following the crowd?
It is part of following the crowd. And like I said, people watch prices go up in whatever, whether it's housing or stock or whatever. People watch prices go up. And when prices have gone really high up there, then people go, okay, prices have gone up so far that now I'm going to jump in. Well, if you jump in at the top, you're probably going to get hurt. There's no way to know what the top actually is until you're looking historically. But when prices have had a dramatic appreciation, you know that the top is near.
Okay. Now, Jump up to 2009 and 2012, the absolute bottom of the housing market, nationally and in every single market. 2009 to somewhere between 2009 and 2012, prices were the lowest. In Vegas, they had gone from 315,000 median to 135. Okay, you could get smoking deals. So imagine this: it's 2009. The house that was worth 315 is now worth 135. And you walk up to your average person and say, "Think it's a good time to buy a house?" Remember, this person, 70% of people 3 years ago said it was a great time to buy a house. Less than 10% of people in 2009 said it was a good time to buy a house. But home prices had completely collapsed. And a good story is, I was talking to an investor. It was around 9, 10, 11. Home prices you could literally buy houses. We had investors coming here buying 50 houses at a time at under 100,000. They could 80 to 90 grand could buy a house that would get $1,000 a month rent. That was the criteria. I want to get $1,000 a month rent, pay under 100,000, and we could literally go find tons of houses for them at that thing, right? Investor said, I talked to an economist who is a professor at UCLA, and he said we still have 15% more that home prices. So I'm going to wait till we get that 15% more drop in home prices. And it's like it never happened. And the home prices just went up. Now, what's interesting about this chart, again, as you get to 2020, remember, this is 2020 pre-pandemic. We're back to 70-something%. I think it's a good time to buy. Just a month or two later, it tanked to 30%. Okay? And then a couple months later, in 2021, when home prices were absolutely going up like crazy, 90% of people said it's a great time to buy. And then, of course, it tanked again. So here's the bottom line with this chart. Asking what people think is a good or bad time to buy is literally the worst thing you could do. Whatever they're saying is probably the opposite. And I'm not saying it's a good time to buy. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out how ridiculous asking people, especially since people are getting their information from dubious sources.
Right. So my position is it's about pencil and paper. This is old school. Does it make sense for you? Where are you in your life? And then look more broadly at the market. Has the market had a run up? And, do you think that something is going to change? We've talked about this a lot. With low inventory and no new inventory in sight, supply and demand, this is very basic. So what's likely to happen? Interest rates are high. What happens when they go down? Everybody jumps in. That's clear. Yeah. When everybody jumps in, and I just said, no substantial new inventory coming on the market, now that supply and demand means you have even more buyers chasing fewer homes. What's likely to happen to home prices? So those are things to consider. But the bottom line is, the first thing you do is look, in your own pocketbook. Check out your own house. What's going on? Does it make sense for you? No time is a good time to buy if it doesn't make sense for you. No time is a good time to buy if you can't afford it, if you don't have savings, if you don't have down payment, if you're not going to have savings left over after your down payment, if your payment is not something you can comfortably afford. Those are not good signals for you to buy a house. So figure out what's going on in your own life and make your own choice. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. It's kind of like your parents told you, right? If your friend jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge too? Well, let's not follow the friend. Let's look at what makes sense for you.
There's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of uncertainty.
Well, yes and no. We do have some certainty. We do know that builders are not building sufficient homes to account for household home formations. We know that.
They're trying to maximize profit.
Right. So we do know that. So that is a certainty because we can see that. Now, will that change in the future? Certainly. But can we see that? Can we see this is happening right now? Yes. So that part is certain. Look, numbers don't lie, okay? Numbers can be manipulated, but numbers don't lie. So look at the numbers. Don't be manipulated by them.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Questions? Real estate comments. We love your real estate comments. Please leave us your real estate comments. We love them. We love engaging with you guys. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.